Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest, and we're here at a protest. The protest today is for the Somali daycare fraud, where hundreds of millions of dollars were put into suitcases and shipped off to Somalia to fund Al-Shabaab. So we're here with a group of hardcore patriots here at the Attorney General's office, and we're going to start interviewing some of them now. Excuse me, would you guys like to be on our podcast?
Well, I suppose we would, yeah.
Okay.
That's why we come here today to talk about the missing money from the Health and Human Services budget.
Sure.
Health and Human Services budget paid for by our tax dollars. We expect the money to be spent on our communities here in the United States of America. That's the name of our country. We pay taxes to this government. We wouldn't mind paying taxes if we know how it's being spent. And a lot of our dollars have disappeared. 200 million that they've tracked so far, more than that probably, disappeared into areas of Somalia controlled by ISIS fighters. So we're here to support the governor of Minnesota, who's called for an investigation and called for a commission, and we're here to support our legislators on the Capitol Hill who are helping call for investigations into where the money has gone to. What do you think about that?
I think that's excellent.
We want to know where our tax money's gone. Taxes are the price we pay for civilization. However, our taxes to pay for our civilization, not for a failed state somewhere in East Africa, which is only defined by its neighbors' borders, by the way.
That is a really good synopsis.
And so one of the most corrupt nations on earth, as defined by the United Nations, in fact, one of the reasons why it's a failed state.
And how do you feel about Minnesota? How do you feel about Minnesota and what's happening?
Take a look around downtown St. Paul. If this is the capital of our state, take a look with the podcast to show people what downtown St. Paul is looking like down here. I think we could use $200 million in downtown St. Paul to fix some of the damage that's been caused by 2 decades of foreign wars of choice that nobody needed to go to defend other countries' borders. When we're told by the Democrat Party that we're not allowed to have borders in the United States of America, and they're so triggered by the American flag that Hillary Clinton's coronation doesn't even have American flags at it until Friday when the internet busted her and they passed out some tiny ones that ended up in garbage bags. So how do I feel about Minnesota? We're suckers. And this happened to us because we're good people, because we're nice people, because we get along by going along, and we go along to get along. That's how this happened to Minnesota. That's why we were chosen as the beachhead for this. So the corruption is here now. We need to find out why our Health and Human Services budget has been exploited and where that money went to. That's what we want to know. It's our money.
So do you guys
we pay taxes.
Can be saved? Do you think Minnesota can be saved at this point? You obviously must, because you're down here protesting. If you thought that there was no hope, you wouldn't be down here, right? So you obviously think that there is some hope.
We can't stop fighting, and I certainly think it would be like turning around an aircraft carrier. It'll take a while, but if we don't keep pushing it, we're gonna run right into the iceberg. So this is going on in other states, by the way, and it's also going on in red states. I just moved here from Texas, and Texas, there are huge efforts to turn Texas blue, and they've got some huge problems with their borders and fraud and everything going on there as well. So I grew up, this is my home state, but I've lived in 8 other states, and it's going on everywhere. But Minnesota is ground zero for the refugee resettlement fraud, I believe that, and the state of Maine as well, especially for the Somali population.
Let me grab a side.
Absolutely. So, but you said it best.
No, your points are excellent, because we're all just putting up with this. It makes sense to fight, even if we thought we were going to lose, even if we thought we can't win and we're going to fail. It's worth sticking up to ask why we're paying tax money to have it stolen. You know, it's our cultural values being exploited against us. It's our values, like we want to help people. We want to see Minnesota be a better world, and that's why these budgets exist. That's why these laws were passed, because we want to have a safety net and a safety basket. But these budgets weren't created so that they could be stolen and exploited. But enough of me. See what other people think. I'm barn standing here, grandstanding.
You're saying it all.
The accountability factor is one of the most important things. But you touched on something earlier that most Americans nor Minnesotans think about, and that is, why are we in all these foreign countries? Why are we doing all these illegal, unconstitutional wars? Why are we sending our young men and women to die for Goldman Sachs, Halliburton, and all the military-industrial complex companies? That's what we have to be asking. That's creating the refugees to come to this country to begin with. So, just my 2 cents on that. So.
Yes, no,
Absolutely.
Awesome. Oh my God. And we got Donald Trump coming to Minnesota on the 20th, so be sure to get your tickets to come to. Yeah, I've got my tickets to go see Donald Trump. Yeah, the Trump is coming. Yeah.
What organization are you with?
We are with the Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest. We're a new startup, and so if you would go to our page, and if you'd like our page, if you'd share our stories, that'd be great.
I'm on the basket of Deplorables.
You're on the basket of Deplorables. That's great. We share a lot of our stories on the basket of Deplorables. So we're trying to get news out because nobody's here covering this. No other news organizations are here covering any of this stuff. So we're here because we need to get the word out. Yes.
We have to thank Hillary Clinton for something else. Hillary Clinton needs to just keep talking, because that term, deplorables, basket of deplorables, really helped everyone find each other. She defined us, and she made us realize we're not alone. Okay, we're deplorable, and people are wearing it on T-shirts now, and they're taking that symbol from the French Revolution, from Les Miserables, and they're turning it into Deplorable, and they're just working on that meme. Thank you, Hillary.
Well, exactly. Let other people know exactly where you stand. When you say you're with the deplorables, they know whose side you're on, right?
Exactly. Thank Hillary Clinton and her running mate, Tim Kaine, for his son, who was arrested up here at our newly refurbished and remodeled, cleaned up Minnesota State Capitol. And Tim Kaine's son, Hillary Clinton's running mate's son, set off incendiary devices inside our Minnesota State Capitol, along with a group of Antifa people. And we got to thank the Antifa, who are the violent extremist wing of the Democrat Party. We have to thank them for helping normal Americans, average Americans, deplorables, define themselves. The Antifa, if they keep setting things on fire, breaking windows, let Antifa do all that crazy stuff, disrespecting the police. We stand here with American flags and words, right? We're using words. They're using swords. There's a one-letter difference. It's the letter S. We're using words. It's free speech. They use swords. And so let Americans decide for themselves if they want to stand with people who believe in the Constitution, Bill of Rights, all the things that we hold precious and dear as Americans, or if they want to go and throw bricks off bridges with some other group. We don't do that. We're peaceful, and we're here today to ask questions of our Minnesota State Attorney General. We want to ask questions about how many daycare are involved in this scandal, how many daycare are being investigated, how much money are we really talking about, because we haven't had any news from the media outlets. Everything's been in the dark. We're asking how many daycares are involved, who is being indicted, are charges pending, who's being investigated, what's the outcome, what's this ongoing investigation that's supposed to be happening in the legislature. We can't, by the way, get some senators and representatives to talk about what it is that's happening. They seriously won't make statements about what's actually happening with this fiasco now.
You think they're afraid?
I like some of them, this is new information for them too, and they don't know how to even respond. That would be my initially, but they need to.
Some of it is new information, and some indicates that maybe 2 years ago, and there were these problems going back to people making collections in various churches and cities around Minnesota, and then that money was being wired back via, what about bank transfers? What about wire transfers? What's the state? How much ID do you have to show in order to wire XYZ amounts of money back to a country? By the way, this scandal involves cash. Of course, we all know it involves cash. It's leaving Minneapolis-St. Paul Airport through the Halawa system. And is it really appropriate to have an American greenback in circulation in Africa? Because what happens with dollars is that they end up being used to fund wars, revolutions, instability. Those dollars, cash money, ends up being used to buy blood diamonds, gold, silver, ancient antiquities that are on the black markets. They fund human trafficking, slavery. Dollars end up wreaking havoc in the local economies because the local leaders of the countries can't control that fiat currency. It ends up creating a dualistic economy where one group of people operate with dollars and the other group of people operate on the near worthless currencies market. It's actually called the near worthless currencies market. So it ends up driving that local currency further into the dust. We're ensuring, by this kind of corruption in Minnesota, we're ensuring that those so-called third world countries never get off the ground and never become newly industrialized states, never become developed states, because they're going to be spinning their wheels with this corruption. And I love this symbology of this. The Minnesota tax dollars are flying. See, cash shouldn't be leaving the United States because it ends up becoming the currency throughout the so-called third world. We want to see those economies develop. We want to see those countries be able to get off the ground, and we're ensuring that they can't by undercutting their local country's currency. That's another reason Somalia is a failed state.
And we're not allowed to take more than $10,000. We can be arrested for that.
And that cash would be seized by the Department of Justice.
Yeah, they're looking the other way with these people. I mean, is this what's... And see, this is why is Keith Ellison running for Attorney General? They want to make sure, I believe, that this is never exposed. So we have to be very, very careful who we promote for the next Attorney General.
Those are good points.
That's a very good point.
That's a very good
that
point.
brings
Why
it
all
home.
of a sudden is he running? Is Keith Ellison running for this? This is something that there's got to be a lot of payola happening, and they don't want it exposed.
Right, follow
Same
the
with
money.
like Obama and our
exactly.
previous Attorney General.
Yes.
Make sure that the prosecutions indictments don't come down, throw the things out of court, whatever's discovered. Maybe even the arrests are made, but then charges are dropped. You guys have a lot of followers on Facebook.
We're starting to, yes, absolutely. We're getting a lot more.
I really like watching your channel.
Thank you. We actually made the Pioneer Press yesterday. Yes, and City Pages yesterday.
Awesome.
Yes.
You guys are
So
doing like diamond and silver.
we're getting there. Yeah, we hope so. We sure hope so.
Have you thought of using YouTube as a platform for getting your own viewership and then kind of, commodifying, commercializing that?
We haven't done that yet, but that's a good point. Okay.
There's lots of great thinkers like Stefan Molyneux, Latin Speaks,
Robert Marvin,
Paul Joseph Watson,
40B, which is
I know him.
Deb Hellstrom, Broken Center, Broken Bar.
She's only coming in the summers now. It's gotten so bad.
I'm probably going to win.
Oh yeah, I was happy that you followed.
Well, the thing is, the people who ran against me only put on their last day, last minute, and we were harassing the other people that would be leading candidates for their city councilmen and stuff. We put people like Don in for city council and Elo and AJ. so that if they dropped out,
I know.
then AJ and
Would you like to say a few words as to why you're taking some time off on this beautiful day?
I am taking some time off to protest the millions of dollars that are being sent overseas to Somalia through the Somali daycare fraud. These are our hard-earned tax dollars. We work hard every single day, and our money is being shipped overseas to potentially fund Al-Shabaab? No, I don't think so. And that is why I am here today, to protest that. And we've got to hold our elected officials accountable. We've got to do something about them, and some people have to go to jail for this. This is outrageous. That is why I'm here today.
Well, thank you.
You're welcome. Yeah, that's why.
Would you like to tell us why you're here today on this beautiful Wednesday?
Well, I'm fed up with giving away my money. Or I should say, the Attorney General allowing it to be given away.
Right. Exactly.
Into an investigation if she receives a certain number of complaints on the same topic. So is she aware of it?
Would you like to say a few words as to what you're doing here on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon?
Well, it's obvious that our politicians could care less about what's going on with this fraud. So I guess we, the people, have to do something about it. We have to take action.
Absolutely. Are you surprised that no other news media is here covering this?
No, not at all.
You think they're trying to sweep this all under the carpet
Yes,
and
under
trying
the
to
carpet.
hide it and they're complicit?
Yes, they are.
Absolutely. Gentlemen, would you like to tell us why you felt it was so important for you guys to be here today?
Sure, who are you?
We are with the Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest. We're broadcasting live on our podcast right now.
Okay. Don's the articulate one.
Okay, Don?
How's that for?
We're protesting the Attorney General not doing her job. She should be prosecuting all the people that are stealing our money. I mean, they've known about it for what, 5 years? Hundreds of millions of dollars. It's not just daycare fraud either. It's all kinds of fraud. So we need an Attorney General that will actually do their job and prosecute people for the crimes that are being committed.
Do you think Chief Ellison will do anything about this?
Something going on here.
Oh, okay.
Even worse.
No, it's not the same program. As child care provider, it's not the same program.
We're having a little bit of an altercation. Somebody was starting something down there, but...
There's Bernie.
Down here. See what's what? We're broadcasting live in front of the Attorney General's office here in St. Paul.
You're insulting us by doing that. It is child care. This is a child care program that's being embezzled, not adult daycare. Okay, the child care is the one that's being embezzled. The embezzlement program is through the CCAP program, and that's what's going on. It has nothing to do with daycare, which is adults.
MAGA, make America great again.
The other thing is when you put this little piece of paper that says you got $1 million in a suitcase like that.
I know, is that brilliant?
When you arrive, this airport knows you got a suitcase with $1 million in it.
He's talking about the fact that this had to be declared, and that's why we know how much money is actually left in the state of Minnesota, is because it was declared.
They have to declare it. Otherwise, because if you carry more than $10,000, they'll take it. So they don't. They just declare it. That's all. And then and I was telling them that a suitcase like that would only be able to carry about $3.2 million. So about 32,000 bills could go in there. So $100 bills, yeah. So you'd need about 30 of them. About 30 of them to carry $100 million. It's a lot.
Child care fraud,
it's a
shut
big
it
volume.
down! Child care fraud, shut it down!
We want investigations. What do we want?
An investigation!
When do we want it?
Now!
What do we want?
Investigation!
When do we want it?
Now!
Who gets arrested? 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 Who
Upstairs!
Okay, let me have it roll down.
Actually, if you were to carry that much, it would fit in a bag, but you have to pay extra.
Lock her up! Lock her up! Woo!
Michelle, will you give us a few words? We're broadcasting live from the Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest, and please tell us why you felt it was important for you to be here on a beautiful Wednesday afternoon.
Well, the reason why I'm here is because my tax dollars are being shipped overseas, and that's the main reason why I'm here. And there seems to be no public outcry over this. There's no media over this. There's no leadership stepping up and taking care of the citizens of this state. So it's like we have to be our own advocates because no one is stepping up to help us. That's why we're here today.
Thank you so much,
Yes.
Michelle. And Michelle also was running for lieutenant governor.
Yes.
So she was our lieutenant governor candidate. So thank you for stepping
Yes.
up and putting yourself
Yes,
out there and
and
running.
if everyone could please spend your summer contacting your congressional districts, ask them to step up, make a public statement, and your local legislators demand answers, demand that they contact you and tell you what they are personally doing about this situation.
Good idea.
Thanks.
Thank you, Michelle. So we have, nice little crowd here.
Let's do it.
All right, people.
We're going to go upstairs now into the Attorney General's office, so we'll see how this goes.
I'm going to try to talk loudly. We're going to go in the building. We're going to go up the elevators, around the food court, and into the Bremer Tower. We're going to go up the elevator to the 14th floor. When you come out of that elevator, that will be her office. There's a very nice receptionist up there. We have a feeling that Lori Swanson is actually in the office, so we're going to see if we can get her or a spokesperson to come out and answer some questions. So we'd like you to all have a question ready or a demand, your preference when we get up there. So we'll go in exactly 5 minutes. We'll start walking in the building. Be nice to the people that are eating, please. Thank you.
We are nice, Don.
I know, we're too nice.
We are nice. That's how we got into this trouble.
You know, Republicans are terrible at protesting.
Yes.
Because we're so unemotional.
I was worried you were going to get hit by a car out there, Don.
We don't beat people.
You mean we're not going to go sit on the railroad?
If we did that, they would probably have to come up with a new law.
No, they probably would.
People don't already know that.
Are you the best
Yeah, they didn't grow up like they didn't get missed kindergarten.
We are live in front of the Attorney General's office here in St. Paul, Minnesota, where there is a protest against the daycare fraud money that's been going out of Minnesota, leaving through Minneapolis, St. Paul airports in suitcases and being shipped to Africa to fund things that are, we really honestly don't know our organization. So anyhow, Americans are fed up. They don't want to see their tax dollars being taken away through fraud. First and foremost is the fraud. Why isn't anybody going to jail over this fraud? Why is nobody being punished over this fraud? Where is the Attorney General? Why isn't she holding anybody accountable for the fraud? So that's why the protest is here in front of the Attorney General's office. And as you can see, we have quite a crowd here, and we'll talk to a few people more before we go upstairs into the Attorney General's office. So just stay with us. We are the Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest here, broadcasting live in St. Paul from in front of the Attorney General's office. So stay with us and we'll see the excitement of what happens. Maybe we can get an answer from the Attorney General. Hopefully she'll be able to talk to us.
We just pay for the roads.
You don't trap people on the road.
We pay for the roads that they block the traffic on.
I was talking to a liberal on that was saying that disrupting traffic and actually stopping ambulances. nothing wrong with that. And then there was another guy who was talking about how people have died, and this guy was like, well, so what? You know, they don't care.
You guys are good. Child care. Very good. Child care. Child care. Hi.
You'd like to get a picture of this? Can you use his phone just to snap a picture?
Well, would you be able to do it? 'Cause I'm broadcasting live.
Oh, sure, I can try. What would you like, sir?
We're just looking to get a picture from his phone to put on Facebook.
Okay, well, we're on Facebook Live right now with everything. So, yeah, we're on Facebook Live.
Okay, so
Teaching them young. Hey guys, Civic, look interested.
A lot of times they don't.
Buddy, Devin over here.
Okay, just stay with us. We're going to be going upstairs shortly into the Attorney General's office. See if we could get some answers.
I will walk in first, Michelle, so just follow us up to the elevators, okay? You ready?
Yes, Christy, we are going to demand some answers. Good question. Hopefully we will be able to get in there to demand some answers.
All right, Michelle.
Are you Brian Bratton's friend?
No.
You were.
Going into the Attorney General's office.
All right.
Left from the rear here.
You lost one.
Got it, brother.
Okay, that's great.
Go house.
And we're going into the Attorney General's office right now with a group of protesters protesting the daycare fraud where millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars left the state of Minnesota in suitcases to help fund Al-Shabaab. That's right, Minnesotans, folks, are funding terrorism around the world.
We have about 50 people here right now. Keep getting more and more people joining in on the protest, but we're in the building where the Attorney General's office is, and we're going up to her offices to see if we could get some answers.
Just radio that we are headed up. Did you hear that?
Did he?
Yep.
Okay, you want to say that on camera?
So the police officer back here just radioed that there are a group of about 20 to 30 protesters on their way up to the Attorney General's office, so we'll see what happens.
This is going to be good. And you're watching the Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest live from outside the Attorney General's office here in St. Paul, Minnesota.
And Donna and I have bicycle chains to chain ourselves together so that we're doing a 60s style die-in here at the Attorney General's office. Just kidding, folks.
Smells good up here.
There's still a little bit of retail left here. Who knew that St. Paul had any retail left after all of the high taxes? Most of St. Paul is a giant ghost town populated by things like the Children's Museum that suck off the government tit, as well as, what else is down here? The Church of Scientology, a few other things, light rail. You can get anywhere you want to go in St. Paul, but I guess nobody really wants to come here anyway. Because there's nothing here.
Well, there's Potbelly. That's all you need, right?
That's all you need, that's right.
That's all you need out of life is a Potbelly. I got one, but not fast food. Okay, we're going into the Bremer Tower here, following the crowd.
We have a group of dedicated patriots here. We even have a few children a daycare provider brought her kids to teach them about freedom of speech and what you need to do when things go wrong in your state. You voice your opinion. So this is great.
Absolutely, absolutely. This is what America is all about.
Absolutely.
First Amendment.
And we do have the right to protest our government.
Absolutely. And they are elected officials, so. And we have to hold them accountable.
Absolutely.
And this is our tax dollars. Who here on the broadcast wants $100 million to be obtained illegally and shipped out of our country?
Right. To fund Al-Shabaab, which is a terrorist organization, folks. And you can see here that we are the true anti-fascists. We do not have mace. We don't have smoke bombs. We aren't beating people with metal pipes like Antifa, who call themselves anti-fascists when that's how fascists get their way.
Yep.
These are the true anti-fascists. We are not intimidating anybody. We're just letting our points of view be known.
Absolutely peacefully.
Absolutely.
That only goes up as high as 13.
Go ahead there, you can get through.
And also, this should be a referendum on the upcoming Attorney General's race.
It most certainly should be a referendum on the Attorney General's race. As we know, Lori Swanson failed to even get the endorsement of her own party because she's so corrupt. Apparently, she likes to pass a lot of business on to her friends.
We can catch the next one. I'm kind of claustrophobic.
We can get the next one?
Good, how are you?
Pardon me?
So we'll go with Marston.
Oh. I can't sit on the people that hit the lottery, they came to my job.
Well, we're waiting for the elevators right now.
Oh, you know what? We are just tired of the daycare fraud that happened.
Will that one take us up?
I hope so.
Okay, thank you.
Do you know what floor was
What
supposed to go?
floor are we supposed to go to? 4?
Is it 14 or 16?
I don't know.
What floor?
14.
14? Okay. All right.
It's AGN 14.
Chris is lost in the elevator.
This is pathetic. Yeah, so
They lost us. We're trying to find the Attorney General's office. We're hoping that it's on floor 14 or 16. So we'll join up with them again real soon, folks.
So
Here we are.
I take the paperwork that I get from the state, and I can claim all 6 kids were in care for the days they're not. So say I get reimbursed $150 a week per kid. I'm just taking that. With 6 kids, that's $900 a week. I can claim and never once watch the kids. All I need from him is the parent's signature saying he left them with me and he picked them up. Really?
See, this is a very good explanation. Thank you for that, because it makes...
Let's do this.
That's why it's really important. The definition is child care.
I gotta go grab the reception.
We'll sort it out. We can sort it out.
So here we are at the front door of the Attorney General's office. We look like we're all going to file in. All of them are going to politely tell the receptionist exactly what's going on and directly question the Attorney General Lori Swanson on why she has failed to investigate this. Why is this? This is probably still going on today.
okay, we're filing into Lori Swanson's office.
It's like a library, everybody got quiet. Republicans are such good
Waiting for your directions.
Do we have a call in? We have a very quiet, respectful crowd. who wants to exercise their freedom of speech and let the Attorney General, who's obviously very corrupt, know that we're not going to stand for this type of thing. $100 million of taxpayer money leaving the state of Minnesota to fund terrorism is not going to happen. We're not going to sit by and let that happen. So we're here to let her know.
She was here earlier, I think.
Yes. So I don't know.
We can wait till she shows up.
Major 911.
Yeah. Swanson just snuck by us and ignored us. From what we heard from an individual who knows what she looks like. I don't know what she looks like, but I guess she just snuck by and walked through that door back there without saying a word to us.
Your tax dollars hard at work.
Your tax dollars hard at work, folks. I guess she's too busy running for governor right now since she failed to get the endorsement for Attorney General. That's why we have another group of radicals that are running, as well as the very wonderful Doug Wardlow, who we support, because we know that he's going to investigate this stuff. He's going to shut it down.
Absolutely.
Just hang on.
Doug Wardlow has respect for the taxpayers.
He has respect for the taxpayers. Not only that, he has respect for the law, because we're supposed to be a nation of laws, not a nation of men where we can do whatever we want. That's not cool, guys.
Absolutely. Why are you here on this beautiful Wednesday?
Why? For a good cause.
For a very good cause.
Stop the fraud.
Absolutely.
Where's the money? I wonder which daycares are
See, we have a daycare provider here, and you heard her story about how easy it is to get money from the government if you have kids who need financial assistance. If you need financial assistance in order to pay for your daycare, it's very easy to defraud the government. Not only, I'm sure, do the Somalis defraud the government, I'm sure there are a lot of people in the state of Minnesota, dishonest people who defraud the government as well.
I know. Somebody needs to take care of Minnesota.
Minnesota first. Donald Trump will be here
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you doing?
We're good.
Good.
Minnesota red. I'm feeling $10.
I'm with Deplorable Housewives in the Midwest, and we're covering this. We are a conservative news organization. Okay. And we heard part of your story about how easy it was to get money from the government. Would you tell that story to us again so that we can tell our viewers?
The CCAP program is an assistance program. It's called the Child Care Assistance Program, and that's why it's very important to know that we're talking about child care and no other day programs for other organizations. And in the child care program, what it is the parent qualifies for CCAP,
okay,
and which is child care assistance. And in this particular fraud that's going on is the parent brings the child to the child care center or the child care provider, and they sign the child in, but they don't leave the child. They sign them in and they sign them out for the day, which then with their signature allows the provider to claim that day as a day of care. So if you would basically, you were a parent of two,
right,
and say your provider charged $150 a week, the state doesn't quite reimburse that much, but because I could then basically claim a $300 off your two children for the week and not have cared for them.
Wow.
So if you had 4 kids, you're talking $600.
Right.
So it is basically fraud between the parents and the provider,
Okay.
in which the parents are signing off saying their children are being cared for by this provider, but not leaving the children for care.
That makes sense. That's interesting.
Right here?
She is not available right now.
She's here.
Where's she not available? No, she's not available right now. She's not here.
Oh, we can wait. She's not available or she's not here?
She's not here.
She's not here.
Right.
Oh, okay. Do you want to be in?
Soon? I don't know. I can talk to the scheduler, but I'm happy to talk to you guys.
Yeah, well, we have questions about the child care fraud.
Yep.
So where are we at with that?
Yeah, so, I mean, I assume you're referring to the news reports on Fox.
Very
about,
few news reports.
Yep.
Can we get your name again, please?
Yeah, I'm Ben Wes Lund with the Attorney General's office.
Thank you.
So I guess first of all, I'll just say thanks for coming to the office. So here's what I can tell you on child care fraud. So obviously those reports in the media are very troubling. I'm sure they're troubling to you. They're troubling to us as well. The system of law that we have in Minnesota and the current system that we have is, you know, if any of you have ever seen, I'm sure you have, Law and Order. We have two, separate but equally important parts of law enforcement. You've got the people that investigate allegations of wrongdoing. The police are the investigators, and then you've got the lawyers that go to court. Those are the two branches, right? And so on child care, that's a program that's administered by the counties. There's federal money, there's state money, and then there's county money. And it's administered both by the individual counties, so here, Ramsey, Hennepin, Olmsted, all the various counties, and then the Department of Human Services. Under the law, they have the authority, DHS, the Department of Human Services, to investigate allegations of fraud and wrongdoing. The individual counties also have that authority because, again, there's county money here and taxpayer money from the counties on the line. If they investigate that, and when they investigate it, then they can refer those for prosecution. Our office stands ready and willing to prosecute those cases. Up to this point, it's my understanding that those referrals have been going to the United States Attorney's Office for criminal prosecutions, and there's been a few of those, and I believe felony convictions.
So they're bypassing you?
Well, under the law, they're sending it, they've been sending it to the county attorney's office, who has criminal jurisdiction.
How many counties are involved?
Well, there's 87 counties in Minnesota, and each county has a part in administering the Child Care Assistance Program, and then they have within each of those counties the ability to investigate whether they think there's fraudulent claims or allegations of wrongdoing at those through the program.
So all 87 counties are involved in the investigations now?
Well,
which are involved?
it depends on where the allegations are taking place, sir.
Which
so
counties were the 8 daycare centers that were shut down?
I think
Hennepin County?
Some of them are in Hennepin County, and DHS could speak to that in terms of which ones they've shut down. Again, they, I believe, license and regulate these companies. So they're the chief regulator and the chief investigator, and then the counties at the same time also have authority to investigate because they administer the programs. So up to this point, those referrals have been going to the county attorney's offices who have criminal jurisdiction. They brought some cases. Some of those have been reported publicly in, I think, Hennepin County, Ramsey County, and I believe some other counties too, sir. And then obviously the United States Attorney has brought a couple of cases as well under the criminal laws. Yeah, go ahead, sir.
Why haven't there been more public statements about these investigations and the arrests made so far and the convictions brought forward? Because there's just a lot of rumors in circulation. Wouldn't it be great to have the highest law enforcement authority in the state of Minnesota to make some kind of public statement to clear up what counties are involved, who's involved in this, and put a press release out to the media, because we're calling our senators and our representatives.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, we have made public statements, and we went and participated in public testimony before the legislature and have made public statements. But again, we don't have direct authority over the counties or over DHS. The governor has authority over DHS, and each of the individual counties are autonomous units. Now, that being said,
what would it take for you to get involved?
Sir, it's in the statutes, isn't it, that under the one of two things that the Attorney General can specifically investigate, prosecute, and recoup money from is under the AG office in the statutes. Is that correct?
and like I said, we are ready and willing to prosecute those cases to the
Why
full
don't you
extent.
guys go out and do it?
Well, we haven't. So to date, we have not gotten those referrals from DHS. They've been sending them to the criminal authorities at the county and to the United States Attorney's Office. No.
My question.
No.
Well, sir, my question is, how do you bypass? If Tom Petters, we all saw him. We saw Danny Hecker get marched out in front of people, breaking these same kind of laws, right?
And I believe that was the U.S. Attorney's Office.
Right, but how does the how does DHS have authority over the criminal prosecution or even the decision making? Where is, what I'm getting at is, where's the criminal prosecution investigation at right now? Why does it have to originate out of DHS?
Well, it doesn't have to. It can originate there, or it can originate at the counties. And the counties, under the statutes, have the authority to
You're
investigate.
talking about the sheriff's department.
Yep, local. Well, I believe there's different county fraud units, like in Hennepin and some other places as well.
Is it a criminal act?
Well, there have been criminal charges brought.
Okay, so it's a criminal act.
Well, I mean, I can't.
You're not just suing them civilly.
I can't speak to individual ongoing investigations that the counties may have or that DHS might have right now. I know, you know, and I don't speak for DHS, but I know that they have made some comments publicly and at the legislature. I don't.
Is there anybody besides the sheriff?
One at a time, sir.
Is there anybody besides the sheriff department that's in charge of a criminal investigation?
Well,
of any kind.
Yeah. So yeah, police departments, county sheriffs, and then I believe, like I said, I can check on this, but I believe there's also fraud units at some of the counties. Again, specifically the counties that are administering this program, I believe had tools and different programs to monitor for fraud, and then they build an investigation. Once they've built an investigation, to your point, sir, they can refer that for prosecution or to a lawyer.
I believe it says in the statute that the AG can specifically begin investigating, can also prosecute, can also recoup the money. They don't. This is one of two spots where they don't have to go through county attorneys
So
to do
no,
this stuff.
my understanding, sir, is that we do not have jurisdiction to begin those investigations. Again, you got the two branches. You've got investigators and you've got lawyers. We are the lawyers, and in this case, other lawyers who have criminal authority, whether that be the county attorney's offices or the United States attorney's offices, have been getting these referrals and they have been bringing cases. I mean, you can look and see what they put out. I believe just because I've searched, looked myself.
There is a statute that does say that you can do it.
That we can prosecute cases.
Yep, investigate as well.
You're waiting for referrals. I hear you saying you're
No,
waiting.
and if we get evidence from the public or otherwise, we would work with the U.S. Attorney's Office. We'd work with the counties, and again, we stand willing and ready to bring cases. But and one other thing I'll add, you guys, some of you may know this as well, but. I believe, we think it's also prudent that the Office of the Legislative Auditor investigate this. There's been a lot of allegations about large amounts of money that might be being diverted from this program. Obviously, if that's true, that's terrible. Any dollar,
it
taxpayer.
It appears to be true.
So
It's been proven.
One simple question I got, if you look at this bag here, that bag here is talking about $100 million being shipped overseas in cash from MSP Airport. This bag here, for example, this is just an example, could hold about 74 pounds of bills, and the volume of it would hold you about 74 pounds of bills.
Right.
If it was $100 bills, that bag would hold about $3.2 million. And they're alleging, and this is based on receipts and stuff, and whenever you go through the airport, if you have more than $10,000, you have to declare it.
Right.
They're saying $100 million is being declared in cash out of MSP Airport, going to places like Somalia and wherever.
Yeah.
And so basically, we're talking about 30 or more bags of this size being shipped out annually.
Yeah, and who has authority
prima
over
facie,
that?
that looks irregular, and that's in
The county
cash.
doesn't have authority over what's being
No,
shipped
you're-
out of there.
no, you're right.
So who does?
So that appears to be an issue.
That would be, my understanding of having talked to one of the lawyers is that would be the Federal Bureau of Investigation, especially investigating when you're talking about potentially financing terrorism.
Some
and
30
things
bags like this.
Yeah, I hear you.
Full.
I hear you.
70-some pounds of cash.
So that would be to your question. That would be the Federal Bureau of Investigation. I think Homeland Security may have some authority over that, but again, that's primarily federal. So.
So your office just sits and waits for an investigation to come to you rather than going
Well, no,
to
I mean,
these
listen,
different
we
counties
work with,
and asking?
we don't have original jurisdiction under the law to begin an investigation without evidence and without having that. We will, though, bring a case if we get that, and we stand willing and ready to do that.
Well, I still have a question over here.
Right.
You've been saying that they've been making public statements and so on and so forth. Where have they been? I haven't seen any. Nothing's on the news.
Well, to that
Do you have
point,
a public statement here, like in writing?
Um,
I
I mean, I'm making public statements to all of you right now. We're having a conversation, so
Previously,
yeah.
to pursuant to his question
Yeah,
about.
yeah. Let me get his question real quick, and then
Good
switch
point.
back to you.
Yeah.
So, if you check on the United States Attorney's Office, they've put out press releases on a couple of these large prosecutions in the last couple of years for sure. There have been, I've read myself reports in the press and in the media about prosecutions in I believe in Hennepin County and Ramsey County, maybe other counties. So again, I don't speak for those offices, but I have seen them. So I believe they're making public statements, and you can follow up with them directly to see what they're saying on that. But yeah, and then you had.
Well, I heard you say I believe they're making public statements, so we would have to go to their offices to find out the status of those.
Yeah, and I think again they put some of them on their on their websites.
What about your office?
What's that?
What about your office?
No, what was the other question?
No, what about the other question? What about your office? Is there an
Sure.
online link or a URL where we can go to find a public statement about the current dispensation of the investigation in this county?
In Ramsey? Well, in this in Ramsey, that would be John Choi's office. He's the county attorney, and I believe, again, I don't speak for their office, but I believe they have made, and I think it's been in the paper, have brought some cases, and I think have brought some prosecutions. So, and I think they've spoken publicly about that. You can follow up with him on that. Yeah.
Has the Department of Commerce or the Department of Labor and Industry shut any of these daycares down? I mean, are they still all operating with the same group?
You'd have to ask them. I believe, though, I think you're going to want to talk to DHS. And I believe, if I recall correctly, again, don't speak for the Department of Human Services, but I think when they were testifying in front of the Senate at the end of this last session, they indicated that they had some statistics on what they've shut down, yes.
Have you guys heard what the claim is and had it explained to you what people are alleging, how the fraud is occurring?
Yes.
There's a person here that can explain it in great detail.
Yeah, no, I've probably have read all the same stories that you've read. I'm aware of it through the public reports.
She's a very simple and easy to understand explanation.
Yep.
Yeah. I was wondering, what was your name again?
My name is Ben Belson.
Because we've seen you on other cases too. I forget which one, but.
Oh yeah.
I just wanted to clear something up though.
Yep.
It seems like there's a lot of layers to go through. We're going to start at the county, and then we're going to go from the county to where in prosecuting all this.
Right. Well, the county's prosecuting them, and DHS investigates, and the county's prosecuting them, or the U.S. Attorney's Office. So it's two steps. You've got investigation, prosecution, and that's how our law is set up in Minnesota. Our office doesn't administer this program, so we don't have original information about claims. They have the claims data, they've got all that other things. They have the ability to, I believe, could check with DHS on this, but I believe they have the ability to do spot checks, which is one of the things that's been talked about.
Who's going to prosecute when they've discovered that all this money is going overseas? Who's going to prosecute that?
Well, again, I think, if you're talking about this issue here, you're talking, I believe it would be the FBI and the feds that would have jurisdiction on, obviously financing terrorism and things like that.
Well, obviously, one of the things when you...
let's see, you haven't had a
I'm a
chance.
child care provider.
Yeah.
And I'm a CCAP provider, which is a child care with assistance program.
Yep.
Now, my license for my child care is I filed through Dakota County.
Yep.
But Dakota County answers to the head of DHS here at the Capitol. So when you say it has to be the county who files the charges.
Nope, that's not what I said. What I said is the counties can investigate allegations of fraud. So obviously other daycare providers, if there's some sort of problem that they see, they can investigate that. DHS can also investigate that. They can report it to DHS. They work together all the time, is my understanding, the counties and DHS. They investigate that. Then once they find something, if they find that what they believe is criminal, thus far they've been referring those to the county attorney's office, or they've been referring some of the larger ones to the United States Attorney's Office, who have then brought cases. So I couldn't speak to you today about what the status is of open investigations that the counties may have, or what the United States Attorney's Office may have at this point. But that's been the pattern so far. And now, again, like I said, I believe the Office of Legislative Auditor is investigating it from the broad perspective of how is this program working. There's some very serious allegations, very troubling allegations, and they've indicated that they are looking at it, which we think is prudent. And one last thing on that: if they find something and if they find problems there under the law, the Office of Legislative Auditor, we could then potentially, and we would stand ready to take action on that as well.
Well, I would like to see you take action as a CCAP provider.
Yep.
I take care of children who are on CCAP. The waiting list is
know,
unbelievable
it's terrible.
for children who legitimately need this money.
Yeah, I agree, and that's what I was saying before.
And as long as this money is being funneled out of the CCAP program, that leaves all these other children who need the program. And they're being told you need to wait because the list is so long.
Right.
So until these people get prosecuted and put out of business, we have children who are going without care. And that needs to change, which means you guys do need to step up to the plate, and you don't need to wait for the rest of the people to get in line.
Amen.
You need to do your job. You tell these kids right here that they don't count.
I never said anything like that, man.
But when you don't follow through, you tell them they don't count.
That's not what I'm saying, ma'am. That's not what I'm saying.
Then step up to the plate and get this
We're ready to do that. Like I said, we have not received referrals.
Okay, I
on
got
these cases.
complaints right here.
So
We'll fill them
Consumer
out before we
Protection
leave.
Yeah, right.
That's what it says right there, consumer protection.
Consumer, we will fill these out before we leave.
Have there been any prosecutions or convictions to date on any of the fraud going through this?
Yeah, like I said, the United States Attorney, I'm aware of several. And again, I think if you talk to the Commissioner's office at DHS, I mean, they've been talking about what they've done, how many they've shut down, how many prosecutions there have been. They are the agency that administers this program, and they've got data on that. I don't recall the figures off the top of my head, but I want to say the Commissioner may have said like a dozen or so in the last couple of years. But
and are these people going to jail, and what are the chances that we'll get our money back?
U.S. Attorney's Office has brought in a couple cases. It's my understanding. I think a couple of those. I think there is jail time. Yes.
Have we ever gotten any of our money back? No.
There is, I believe, under the court order, and I'd have to go and look at those cases. And I think the U.S. Attorney's Office has some of that information on their website. There are restitution orders that the court has ordered. I don't know the status of the trying to go after those funds to date. That would be again the U.S. Attorney's Office or the counties that would be doing that if they get a judgment. But that's the process of law that we have. Yeah.
Sir, I have the statutes.
Yep.
256.98. The Attorney General has full authority over cases of fraud involving child care assistance programs and may, quote, institute a criminal or civil action to, quote, prosecute or recover assistance wrongfully obtained.
Prosecute, exactly. That's what I said before. If we get a case or people come forward with evidence, whether that be DHS or the counties, we stand willing and ready to work on referrals to the U.S. Attorney's Office or bring those cases ourselves if that comes to us. But that's different than investigation. That's the two-pronged thing I'm talking to you about.
How many cases have you brought?
On child care assistance, again, the cases have been brought by the County Attorney's Office and the U.S. Attorney's Office because that's where the investigations have been referred to today.
So you haven't brought any yet?
We haven't had any files we haven't had any investigations to bring. When you go into court, you have to have evidence and you have to have an investigation that's been worked up, right?
Can you step into the lead prosecutorial role from the county? Can you snap your investigation?
If the county asks for our help, absolutely. Like I've been trying to say all along, we stand willing and ready to do that. However, though, the counties to date have been bringing these cases and have, at least some of them that I'm aware of, have been getting convictions.
Would there be a different way an investigation could be initiated in terms of the large amounts of money that are wired back?
Again,
if U.S. greenbacks go back to Africa to a failed state region, they end up being used to fund production of blood diamonds, purchase of ancient antiquities from other failed states. When our cash money ends up in a failed state, it ends up destroying the local economy. I know this isn't within your jurisdiction, but we'd like to see those broken nations eventually get on their feet again. And all of these, $200 million in greenbacks floating around Africa really doesn't help the local people and the local economies who have to operate on a secondary system of a local currency, which is a near worthless currencies market.
Yeah, I appreciate what you're saying, sir. I mean, you're right, though. It would be the federal government, whether you're talking wire fraud or allegations of terrorism financing. To your point, I think that's going to rest largely with the FBI and Homeland Security in terms of the laws that we have in the jurisdiction for those kind of investigations. Yeah.
Is that isolated to Minnesota, or are there other states that are having the same issue?
Maine has the problem.
I can't speak to it, but I know in at least one of the news stories, they seem to indicate that there was issues in Washington and maybe some other states too. So, yeah.
Who's in charge of Department of Human Services?
Acting Commissioner Johnson, and then he reports directly to the governor's office.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's been reports from a former Department of Human Services.
Right.
That worked there. They
Yep.
brought evidence forward.
Yep.
So shouldn't they be demanding the Attorney General investigate this stuff?
Well, again,
Prosecute it?
my understanding, sir, I get your question, thank you. My understanding is when they work up an investigation, and again, I don't speak for them, but they've primarily been referring those to the United States Attorney's Office, and sometimes those have higher penalties for criminal penalties and jail time, and they've been referring them to the county
We're
attorney's
worried
office.
about the Minnesota tax dollars.
I agree.
Hundreds of
I understand.
millions of dollars. That's what we're concerned about.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
So just
the Attorney
and one other
General
thing I
should
would
be
mention.
prosecuting it.
And again, we're willing and ready to do that if they send those files to
The
us.
problem
We
is
will
that
bring them.
other counties have asked you guys to come in to help their county attorneys. And for instance, in Little Falls, that murder case, and Lori Swanson says no.
Okay, now you're talking about a different issue, sir.
No, but the issue is you guys.
Being helpful. Okay, that case was an open and shut case, and it was proven by the fact everything in that case was on tape. We were also handling another murder case for that county at the exact same. You asked, so I'm answering. Let me
Go to
answer.
the counties and help them.
Yep.
Send your workers out and help them prosecute.
We do. We do a lot of that work actually on homicides all across the state. And again, if one of these counties has a case that they're bringing forward, and I think we have provided that kind of assistance, and we stand ready and willing to do that. So I appreciate you guys what you're saying, and we're ready to bring those cases. Or if the OLA has more findings when they complete their report, we're ready to act on that too. So it is very troubling. I agree with you guys on that. These allegations are terrible. And to your point, ma'am, every dollar that's diverted from this program is money that's not going to help kids that need child care. So I appreciate that point, and I agree with you.
We have such a shortage of child care in the state of Minnesota.
I know.
And with this shortage, and then you have child care providers with all this going on, refusing to become child care assistants approved providers.
Right.
So that means even more of these children go without care.
Yep. And I agree. I understand what you're saying. I appreciate those comments. Yep. I've got time for two more. I've got to go. And then if somebody had mentioned that you wanted to file a complaint, I encourage you guys.
Three of them.
I encourage you guys to do that. We will respond to you and we'll take a look at them. The two more.
Who's in charge of auditing these cases of fraud?
Right. So in charge of auditing cases of fraud is the local counties and primarily the Department of Human Services. In addition to that, the Office of the Legislative Auditor has indicated recently that they are also taking a look at the program.
Okay,
and then one more. Yeah, you.
In the last 3 weeks or so,
sure.
I seen Lori Swanson on the news. She's going to prosecute this one business for some kind of fraud. Okay.
You talking about the opioid case?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, what's the difference between that business and these businesses? That doesn't make any sense.
That's a consumer fraud case.
And we're consumers, and they're frauding us.
This is child care fraud under the law. If those allegations are correct.
Yeah, but it's consumers' tax dollars that
Right.
are being frauded.
Right.
Yeah. It's for sure.
Tired of writing checks for it. These are the consumers.
Say that again?
I'm tired of writing checks for it.
Look, I understand. I mean, taxpayers should be concerned about this, and every tax dollar that goes towards fraud is a dollar that doesn't go towards child care. I agree with you guys.
Programs that are similar to this program, like adult, health care for, when they have some home health care worker that comes in. Do you think that the PCAs, thanks for the terminology, because in terms of the PCAs, maybe there's a similar kind of fraud being committed on the paperwork.
We've brought many of those cases.
You have?
Yes.
There's too much stuff. You guys have too much stuff. There's too many programs you guys can't even keep track of.
Again, we don't administer those programs.
It's like we have no chance as taxpayers in Minnesota to actually just keep track of any of this. I don't think any of you do, and it's not personally your specific fault or this agency's fault. The problem is that we have legislatures that spend all this money coming up with all kinds of new programs, and we end up with more administrators, and then it's just more layers of bureaucracy. So when we have to write these checks, the hardworking taxpayers in Minnesota have to write these checks every year. It
property
comes,
tax,
but to stand in front of us and just say this is just the way the system that we built operates, I think is wrong. It's disingenuous and it's intellectually dishonest. It's saying I'm a part of the system that perpetuates
this type of waste. So when does that stop?
I think you're missing a little piece of what I'm saying, though, sir. What I'm telling you is we have a system of laws. I agree with you that I did say that. I'm also saying that there have been prosecutions brought by the United States Attorney's Office and the counties in the state of Minnesota on the exact type of fraud that I think you're referring to. And we stand willing and ready to help in those cases as well, going forward. The practice up till now has been that DHS has been referring those cases to the United States Attorney's Office for criminal prosecution and to the counties for criminal prosecution as well. But that's what I have to tell you today. I really appreciate you guys coming and participating.
Is the criminal prosecution done in the county where the child resides, who's the victim of fraud, where the family resides, who's the victim of the fraud? Yep. Or does the prosecution go forth where the person who lives, who runs the provider? The provider?
Okay, I can answer part of that. As a CCAP provider, I actually, if I'm going to watch children who are in CCAP from a different county in which I live in, I have to file in the other county also to be approved as a provider.
The short answer to your question,
this would be across county.
The short answer to your question is there are legal arguments that it's where the fraud occurs.
It's an argument, though, but on the other hand, this gentleman's asking for cross-county lines help. It seems to me that we're making a case for you guys helping with prosecutions in other counties and investigations in other counties, because maybe you've got 4 different counties involved. The place where the daycare is centered, the place where the parent lives, the place where the provider lives, the place where the company is based.
It's not for the parent.
No, but the program is administered by the county services, sir. Yeah. And so that the money, the payments are flowing through, I believe, through DHS, through the county, and then those payments are made to the provider. If they're being paid fraudulently, that's the county. That's the county where the allegations of fraud would take place. So again, please fill out, if you write to us. We want to hear from you. We'll respond to that. And again, we stand willing and ready to take these cases and work with DHS or the counties if that be the case. So thank you guys.
Thank you.
I was denied. Was denied.
So what are your thoughts, Michelle?
It's baloney. It's baloney. There's so many layers and layers and layers and layers. I don't know how we are going to overcome this. It's just these programs need to stop, and our taxes lowered, and there's more money in our pockets, and we can go spend our money on whatever daycare, child care service we want. That's what I think. There's no way to control this fraud when it comes to a government agency. I don't care what agency it is. There's fraud, and it will never stop. It will never stop.
Do you have a card or something?
Robert's a good
but I'll
on VHS.
Share it.
Not right now.
Don, what are your thoughts on what just happened?
I think he basically gave us the right explanation from his point of view, his perspective. I think the AG's office, though, as the top prosecutor, can actually put pressure on the counties to go after and present these cases to them, or at least bring them to court. Part of the problem with this office is this isn't a popular issue for them, and so it doesn't bode well for the AG's office to go after certain groups that are committing taxpayer fraud. So they'll just do it under the radar, so to speak, which is fine, as long as it's being prosecuted. But at the same time, we can't just decide to take people like, Danny Hecker and march him out in front of the media every day and say, look at the millions of dollars he stole from taxpayers or from consumers or whoever. It doesn't make sense. It's the same thing. So these people that are committing these fraud, at the same level that they're committing the fraud, they should be subject to the exact same shame that everybody else is. If I steal a pair of shoes in this county, I'm going to be put in a squad car, and my face is going to be on the internet, and I'm going to get hauled off to jail. These people deserve to have the same thing happen to them.
And this stuff was taking place a long time ago, but it just broke in the news recently. I mean, we knew about these daycares, right?
The other thing to do is just go to the daycare centers and protest there, and just watch them.
This gal's a resource. And DHS has got to have a little press. Yeah, DHS.
Okay, we have Bob Anderson here, who is a candidate for U.S. Senate. Bob, what are your thoughts on what just transpired?
Well, I think it was really good that Michelle got this together, because because if nothing else, they know we're aware of all these things, and it's a great group here, and everybody was civil. Everybody had some very knowledgeable, especially our child care woman has the facts, and she was a voice of reason to really spell it out. So I think they got our attention, and I think if we spread this around on social media, Facebook, Twitter, and everything, people are going to start taking notice. So I think it was very effective. I was glad that he answered the questions for it, even though Lori Swanson.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. What are your thoughts?
My name is Robert Marvin, and I'm running for Minnesota House. One of the things I was doing, I was standing right next to the lead guy, and when he was leaving, when he was thanking everybody, I put my hand out to give him a shake, and I got denied, and he just walked away. But one of the things, besides stealing money from people that legitimately need it, like for example these children, you know, these ones have daycare, but a lot of these kids are waiting in line for this money, and this money is being taken and possibly being used for criminal offenses. And I was going to ask the guy also about this bag, and this bag would hold about $3.2 million in there. It'd weigh about 74 pounds. And I was going to ask those two guys, they know they're sending this stuff because they're filling out these forms. Whenever you send more than $10,000, you have to fill out one of these forms, so they know it's about $100 million in cash being sent to places like Mogadishu and wherever. I was going to ask these guys if they felt this was regular, it seems irregular, and whether or not they would feel safe going into some place like that with a bag holding, let's say, $1 million. And if they felt safe about that, and whether or not this felt like it was criminal.
I think you brought up a good point when we're talking about the amount of money going.
We're talking about this bag here would hold $3.2 million. You'd have to have about 30 of these bags to hold $100 million. So we're talking a large amount that's going through MSP Airport, and prima facie it looks irregular. Why are they sending so much cash?
Well, you would think something like that would be caught on the X-ray machines too.
No, they're declaring it. They're intentionally declaring it.
It gets confiscated.
There's a trail, so they should be able to track this a lot more effectively than they've been doing.
And it looks bad. It looks bad.
But that's okay.
Well, thank you.
It's a taxpayer money. We're looking out for the folks.
Absolutely.
And we're looking out for the kids. We want to make sure these kids have daycare, and the taxpayers are paying this money in, and they're wanting to make sure that the money goes to where it's supposed to go and not being shipped off to who knows what.
To terrorists.
Potentially.
Exactly. Potential terrorists.
And even if it's not going to terrorists, it might look that way.
Right.
And you want to make sure that you address the concern that it looks that way.
Chris Galbitz is coming in July. Chris Galbitz, author of Muslim Mafia, is coming in July. Michelle's hosting him.
It's a private event, though.
It's a private event, sorry. Rochester, 17 July is open.
Right.
What it is.
But it's
You
a
have
joke.
to pay for that yourself?
Yeah.
Chris Galbitz.
So how much does that cost?
As you take the classes,
Yeah,
programs, and then they expire, and you have to retake. It's a fraud. It's just a scandal. It's a joke. So you get this rating, and so then what happens is if you get your rating and you're a 4-star, you can't apply for as much grant money as if you're a 2 or a 3-star, because if you're a 2 or 3-star, you obviously need more things to improve your program, so you can apply for more grant money.
Like how much grant money are you talking about?
Well, before the Parent Aware program started, they have what is called this grant to keep you incentive to stay in childcare. So I thought, I'm just going to fill out. So I sent in my college diploma, all that stuff, so they knew exactly what my education is, my experience and stuff like that. State handed me a check for $2,000 to spend as I please. It's called the Retain Grant.
The Retain Grant.
Yeah.
Okay.
So basically, I didn't have to spend it on childcare. I could have taken a mini vacation, anything I wanted.
You didn't have to prove that you spent it on anything.
I didn't have to prove a thing.
You could have gone to Hawaii.
I could have.
Yes.
Yes.
All right. Did you hear that, folks? You could have gone to Hawaii with your tax money, which I suppose is better than going to Somalia.
I guess. But I'd like to know what your thoughts were for what just transpired here. Do you think it was...
The Attorney General's office doesn't want to take this on. That's what I'm saying. I've been a child care provider. I was one of the child care providers who formed together to file the lawsuits against Dayton in order to sue him, to stop him from forcing us into the union with his executive order. So if you look that one up, it's Swanson versus Dayton. I'm Becky Swanson.
Okay.
And then along with with many other very, very daycare child care providers. We worked together. And then we fought them in federal court under this Holly Seville versus Dayton. And we finally came to a vote, and which is ironic because I'm a CCAP provider. They didn't allow me to vote in the program because I didn't receive a CCAP check the particular month that they picked that you had to have received one in order to vote. But we beat them in the vote. So the cards are stacked against child care providers. The CCAP money is also where the unions want to take all the union dues out of. So think about that. So before I would receive, if it had gone through, before I would receive my payment for child care, for doing child through the CCAP program, the unions would have taken the dues out of that money.
Wow. And how much would have been the dues?
Let's just go, say $40 a month.
Okay.
But still, that adds up.
That's a lot.
And where do you think the providers are going to pass that money on to?
The customer.
The customer. The families who can't afford child care to begin with.
What benefits would you get from joining a union?
None.
That's what I thought.
We were only classified as state or workers to be unionized. Otherwise, we're private business owners.
Okay.
And if you look into some of these programs, you'll see just how manipulated the programs are.
It's crazy.
It's fun.
Absolutely.
Grant money, child care aware, all the fraud that's going on in the CCAP program. It's like the government's little cash flow, and they are tapping out of it.
Well, somebody's getting rich, but it's obviously not our daycare providers. It certainly isn't our families who need this type of care, who need subsidized care. This is absolutely ridiculous, folks. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a little funny because I just had a lot of smoke blown up my butt from the Attorney General's office. And that's just not a good feeling, you guys.
Well, just the fact that Lori Swanson wouldn't even come on and take it. She wants to run for governor, and she won't even address the taxpayers of Minnesota.
Absolutely. She's a coward. She's a cowardly woman who sent out someone who was the Barack Obama of the Attorney General's office, who learns everything off of the television and doesn't actually know anything himself, including his own laws, including the laws of the state of Minnesota. This is absolutely insane, you guys.
Ready to go? Let's go.
Absolutely.
Where's my sweetheart?
Well, we still have some protesters
waiting for the elevator.
And
yeah, nice meeting you.
So, any other concluding words that you want to say, Sue, to our people out there? We have about 150 people watching us right now.
Well, I'm wondering if all 150 of you are from the deplorable state of Minnesota. Actually, I shouldn't say that. By deplorable, I mean horrible. The horrible state of Minnesota, where we're basically this is a crime ring we're talking about here, folks. And somebody's getting rich. And the people that are getting rich here are people like the gentleman you just saw speak from the Attorney General's office. We have, of course, the Somalis who are coming into this country and starting this type of fraudulent behavior to send money to Al-Shabaab, who are terrorists. The state of Minnesota should be completely embarrassed by what they saw today. This is an embarrassment. I'm kind of stunned, actually, by what I saw today. How about you? It's the tip of the iceberg. Absolutely. She says it's the tip of the iceberg, and I completely agree. So thank you for joining the Deplorable Housewives of the Midwest for another awesome video as we track down fraud throughout the United States, but especially in Minnesota.
Thanks for watching, everybody. We'll see you soon at the next protest. Bye.